Some financial experts fear the Federal Reserve might take action giving it greater control over Americans' financial freedom. That threat is the creation of a government-backed digital currency. CBN's Dale Hurd explains why this move is not only bad for consumers, it's bad for governments as well.
When asked whether a Federal Reserve or central bank digital currency might be on the horizon, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said no.
People don't need to worry about a central bank digital currency. Nothing like that is remotely close to happening anytime soon.
While Powell admits the central bank continues to work toward this currency, he realizes the obstacles to success are insurmountable. For starters, the Fed knows a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, could wreck the nation's banking industry, threaten the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency, and even threaten the Fed itself. Financial expert Nick Anthony of the Cato Institute and author of the new book, Digital Currency or Digital Control, says CBDCs don't do much of anything well except spy on you and control your money.
The government shouldn't be trusted with a CBDC because they're so ripe for abuse. The government would have Americans' data by default. It would be on their servers a click away.
Digital money could be programmed solely for use towards certain purchases at certain times or with an expiration date. It could also be turned off, like how the Canadian government froze hundreds of bank accounts to stop the Canadian truckers' blockade over COVID restrictions.
Programmability has been something that many central banks and many governments have been looking into, where payments could be programmed or the money itself could be programmed.
However, Americans already have digital money, from credit and debit cards to apps like PayPal and other cryptocurrency. In addition to competing directly with those financial tools, a central bank digital currency would be able to divert funds that private banks need to survive.
If we think about the current banking system, where deposits come in and then banks use those deposits to fund loans, a CBDC poses a fundamental threat to that, where every dollar that's held as a CBDC instead of in a savings account, for example, would mean that that's $1 less that the banking system can use.
A digital dollar would also be way more than the Federal Reserve, with its 20,000 employees, could handle. The Fed would have to take on the credit risks of hundreds of millions of Americans, as well as the legal responsibilities the private banking sector currently handles. And if you've ever stood in line at a DMV, you can imagine just how badly the government could mess it all up. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank's experiment with what it called Dcash was a small disaster. A single computer glitch made the currency unusable for months. And do Americans want to entrust even more of their financial information to the government, given that the Fed has been hacked several times in the past and leaked sensitive information about financial firms just last year? While there is talk of a privacy-enhanced CBDC, Anthony points out this is the same federal government that's already looking through your bank account.
The government has almost unfettered access into who you are and what you're doing, because it requires banks and other financial institutions to routinely report your financial activity.
Some argue the government will be forced to issue a CBDC to ensure the dollar remains the world's leading reserve currency. Technology, however, has nothing to do with the dollar's dominance. It's based on our rule of law, financial transparency, and capital markets. A badly managed CBDC, though, could cause other nations to ditch the dollar. This doesn't mean a digital dollar won't happen one day. Controlling people's money is, after all, the ultimate instrument of government control. But the Fed hasn't yet figured out how to make one work.
We're nowhere near recommending or let alone adopting a central bank digital currency in any form.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Well, I hope it stays that way, and I hope you stay alert and awake to this threat to our liberty, because it is a threat to liberty. When you can control the currency, where you instead of saying, the control right now is how much money does the Fed print, or how many loans does it issue, and how does it operate the Federal Reserve System. All of those things can control on a macro level the economy, but when you can control individual, what their currency can and cannot do, well, now you're into a different game. And we're already seeing restrictions on cash. We're seeing restrictions on checks. Some nations have gone away from checks. New Zealand, real famously, their banks are no longer processing checks. They want everything through digital transactions now. When you can't take dollars and go to a grocery store and buy your groceries with dollars to make sure there's not a digital record of what you just purchased, well, there's a certain freedom with that. In our surveillance state right now, let me give you a very recent example. The shooter, the attempted assassination of President Trump, that shooter was identified through his DNA. Within mere moments of that identification, they had found a $15 contribution to Act Blue. They were looking very intentionally, what is the ideology, what is the giving pattern, where has his money gone? For them to have that kind of capacity is absolutely stunning to me, for that to happen literally within moments of the identification. We're in a surveillance culture, but just imagine if the federal government had the ability to completely stop all your currency, where there wasn't any money in the mattress anymore. You could literally be shut down. In the book of Revelation, it talks about you can't buy or sell. Digital currency will definitely be the pathway to that. We're calling for all Christians across the country and around the world to pray for America. America right now is divided. Nations around the world are concerned about our division, and we should be concerned. Are we truly one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all? Are we so partisan now that we can't even join together? We can't even come together. Well, we can always come together in prayer. And being at the foot of the cross is one of the great leveling places to be, where we all bow our knee and humbly ask God to heal our land. Let's confess our sins, let's ask for his forgiveness, and let's return to him. Join with thousands of our partners across the nation to pray for America. You can go to prayforamerica.com. Just text the word pray to 71777, or you can call us 1-800-700-7000. Let us know that you'll be praying for our country. Again, the number 1-800-700-7000, or go to prayforamerica.com or text the word pray to 71777. We need to pray. We need to unite together in prayer and say, let us once again be one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.